Now this time's for real. We're rocking and rolling, my guy.
All right.
So, everybody say what's up to Chris Netzel Gaming. Thanks very much for joining me for attempt number 2 at this. Because very embarrassingly, we have, on my end, we have tried this once before, about 3 weeks ago. And let me tell you the rookie-ass mistake that I made. So you're vaguely familiar with a 2PC setup, right? You've done it before. Yeah. So I don't know how you did it, but I use my Go XLR as my mixer. For those that are getting into the game, it's the easiest way to do it. But you know, you run your USB cable into your streaming PC, and your auxiliary cables go into your gaming PC, and that allows you to send audio backwards and forwards. Well, if you're going to record something like this, don't record it on the gaming PC, because that audio is going to be going through auxiliary cables, and you'll get horrible popping and all that kind of stuff, which was my rookie mistake. Because at the time, my streaming PC was my old 2080 Ti graphics card and all that, so my older one. But I've moved that duty over to the newer PC, and so now that has all the crisp audio settings and the way it should sound instead of pop, 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 pop. It sounded like a bad day in Bosnia, is what it sounded like. Right. It was horrible.
So I did all mine over NDI.
Okay.
Audio and stuff. So like I had my Go XLR hooked up to the game box, and then I sent everything over to the stream box. Except for the camera, I kept the camera on the stream box.
Right. That's what I'm doing. Is my camera, everything short of the actual gameplay is done through my streaming now. So I think I'm a little bit different to how you did it.
Well, mine was over the network, so I didn't have to run all that stuff. You know.
Okay. Oh, that must have been nicer.
I had feedback too, and I didn't know about the ground loop isolator at the time to help that auxiliary out. So I just stopped right after I realized it wasn't working, and then I just ran over the network, and it did pretty well. Believe it or not.
So give everybody a little bit of a backstory in yourself.
All right. Well, my name's Chris Netzel. I started streaming a little over 3 years ago. I think April 19th was my very first stream. Ended up going full-time streaming maybe about 3 or 4 months after that, and been doing that ever since. You know, I'm a former United States Marine, former police officer. I've actually lived quite the intriguing career life, right? And I've done all sorts of different things.
It sounds like it.
I love it, right? I love it. And here I am now.
So we talked about it last time, but I can't remember. What was your like aha moment into like, this is going to be, gaming is going to be a thing, or it's going to be what I'm doing?
Well, I think obviously once I started realizing it, so it's a little bit different WhoFlung for me, because it's never really been about the game for me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I love people. I love studying people. I love learning about people. I love learning about different cultures, different things. I enjoy expressing things that I've been through to be able to help people get through what they're going through. And I think that's always kind of been the main focus for me. And I realized that this was a great avenue for that, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the gameplay, I enjoy the games. I have a good time. But at the end of the day, it's always about the other stuff first. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're focusing more on your individual audience rather than the game that you're playing, the content that you're creating. It's more about the interaction with your audience.
Right.
I think because that is what mine's turning into. I mean, because you and I both know I'm a massive GTA streamer, and you're more of a variety, which I envy your freedom of being able to do that. Because for me, I mean, if we just look straight statistics at it, mine nosedive when I'm not playing GTA. Whereas I watch you playing anything, and your audience is there no matter what. So I've taken sort of a page out of your book in that regards, and been like, all right, let's make it more about the audience, and rather than the content that I'm playing. Because now I'm starting to see it level out a little bit and grow steadily, rather than this drastic up and down that was happening before. So it's interesting developing that because you do it from sort of a mental health standpoint.
Right.
If I'm remembering it right, and for me at least at the beginning, it's becoming a baseball thing because I'm here decked out in Yankees gear. I'm a diehard Yankees fan, huge baseball fan, and that's sort of the audience that I'm getting is now. It's very interesting that you watch your stream chat going along, and I would say at least for me now, half the time they're not talking about anything that's going on in the stream. They're talking about baseball or something like that, or I don't know. What are you finding roughly the same?
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing,
It's
and I
phenomenal.
think that what you're talking about, if that's the direction you're trying to go, it does open that door to be able to do what you want.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong, like I made myself on GTA and hunting, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But GTA more, right? And
Okay.
walking away from it hurt, right? It
Yeah.
hurt. But like I think the move over to Kick for the most part kind of helped out too, because it opened that door for me to kind of go a different route as well. So I'm doing a lot of just chatting stuff now, like police incident breakdown videos. We troll some nights on Omi TV, right? Like
There you go.
we're doing all sorts of different fun stuff, but it kind of does still boil down to the same aspect of I love the people that are there with me. You know what I'm saying? And it's really a beautiful thing to watch people that are like-minded come together and just observe the accomplishments as they play out. It's a really beautiful thing to watch.
How have you gone almost exclusively Kick now, or do you still occasionally do Twitch?
So I would say that I occasionally do Twitch. I'm trying to make sure, because at this stage I need it.
Yeah.
Right. I need the combined, the combined income in order to be able to stay afloat. So I'll do like Twitch. I'm trying to do it, around noon 30, and then I'll mess around and Reddit for a little bit, and then 6 o'clock for TikTok, and then 8 o'clock for Kick.
So you're definitely sticking to a schedule
For the most part.
Yeah.
Now with Twitch, it'll be like,
it'll be hit and miss.
Not every day, maybe every other day. Right?
Yeah.
Is what I've been telling people, because I don't really want to tell people it's every day, because I can't guarantee that. So
right. So it's
I'm also running a late night TikTok stream too on top of that. So it's like four streams a day. So if I'm not feeling it the next day, I want to have that freedom on Twitch to take that off.
The Twitch will be the one that you sacrifice.
Right.
I get you. So the Twitch is the say the hit and miss one. Everything else you stick to as stringent a schedule as you can.
Yeah.
Have you found like feedback from your viewers that is something that they enjoy rather than sporadic?
I don't really think that I've ever heard, per se, viewers specifically address that, right? Because I think that if you communicate with them,
right,
they'll be there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
right?
sure.
Like, now, everybody else always tells you, stream every day at the same time.
Right. That's what I was getting to, yeah.
And it's like, man, I don't believe necessarily in that. Do I think it's necessary to start? Yes, I do. I think the quickest way to grow is to be consistent and to have the same time. That way, as you're building your audience, they know. And then once you establish like a good core group of people, right, then you can kind of experiment a little bit,
Right.
And just always keep that line of communication open. But
do you utilize your Discord for that?
I do.
Yeah, because that's definitely what I do, for sure. Because I think one thing that people will be interested to know about us is that we differ is I still have a 9 to 5 outside of streaming, and you're a full-time streamer. So I definitely utilize my Discord for saying, hey guys, I'm either going to be late tonight or not tonight, tomorrow. My turnaround in my 9 to 5 is too short. Yeah, I've definitely started to see, you can give feedback on it, as see the benefit of having a Discord, which sort of provides that continuous communication, whether you're live or not. They can always reach out to you there, and you can communicate.
There's really a big upside to Discord that I don't think a lot of people dig into, and the reason why I say that is because I made the same mistake, right? So starting out, everybody like would join your Discord, then you invite to their Discord, and you're like, well, I feel guilty if I don't. I mean, you join my, you know what I'm saying? And so you just start stacking all that stuff together. But actually, there's really, really efficient ways of managing Discord. Number one, cut out the servers that you're not using, but inside the servers that you are using, you can mute individual channels, or you can mute the whole Discord with the exception of this channel and this channel and this channel, So like Discord is a really effective means of communication, in my opinion, for that aspect of you as a viewer, or you as the person in the Discord can manage how you get notified and what you want to be notified of.
Yeah.
So,
I love that
good tool.
muting or silencing feature. People that are listening whose Discords we're in, don't take that the wrong way. It's just if we left our notifications on all the time, or our DMs open all the time, it would be a nightmare. Because I have my DMs on Discord turned off. I don't necessarily mind people pinging me that much. But as far as DMs go, I mean, let my Instagram be an example of that. I've only got, I say only, I'm grateful for every one of them, like 450 odd people in Instagram, because I've started in the last 2 weeks putting effort into that. But I opened up the messaging side of that, and oh my God, it was like the Wild West. I see you smiling. It was the Wild West in there. I'm like, all right, delete everything, because I didn't know anybody, and it was people from all over the world just saying hi and tagging me in my own reel. And I'm like, I'm the one that posted it, guys. I've seen it. Trust me. Appreciate the support, but it was absolutely wild.
I think I've seen most of the turnover to Instagram, and I don't promote my Instagram, right, at all.
Okay.
But most of the turnover from Instagram, it seems like comes from TikTok for some reason. I think maybe it's a generation thing or something possibly, but I'm trying. I think I'm trying to. My Discord works really good,
Yeah.
so I always use that as a first means of communication.
Yeah.
But I'm moving into something different in addition to this whole stuff like that involves with YouTube and paranormal investigation and stuff like that. So I think I'm gonna start pushing a little bit towards Twitter, whatever you call it.
Right? Twitter. I tried Twitter, and I'm like, let me sort of go in the hierarchy of things that I want to build. As far as platforms go, like Twitch is there for me. YouTube is there for me. Kick. I treat my Kick like I think it sounds like you treat your Twitch.
Right.
So I do all the non-GTA stuff, all the outside of normal hours streaming. I do all that on Kick. Like last night, we watched the ass end of a Padres game. Right. We were just hanging out, chatting baseball. I was like, this is after hours. Boom, threw it up on there. But so I sort of stacked that. And Twitter, I have one. Hardly ever use it. Maybe one tweet a month kind of deal. Because it's in the terms of, what I want to build. It's on the list, but it's not up there on the list. So, which, I probably need to get better about. I will admit.
Look, me personally, I don't want it at all. But it's just so hard because, like, especially on the YouTube side, man.
Yeah.
It seems like most YouTubers drive all of their traffic right over to Twitter. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm doing the paranormal investigation stuff with these two other people, right, like, it might be good to somewhat keep some sort of separation there, because when I'm doing my gaming stuff, the people that are in the paranormal business probably don't want to watch me scream at animals and lose my mind you know what I'm saying? They want to watch me go find ghosts. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
That's the only reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch it, man, because it's a little complex for me, man. I don't
so you're
really
looking at using it as sort of like keeping one side of your content creating here and one side of your content creating here, and being able to dabble in both, but keep them separated so they're like, what the hell is he doing here?
Yeah, intertwined.
You keep them separated, and which is, an interesting take on it for sure. How'd you get in the paranormal stuff?
Well, so it's something
if you can talk about it. I don't know how detailed you can go into it. Okay.
Like, I've had an interest in it before,
Okay.
Now, one of my really good friends, her and her husband, she's like been in that business, right? Before she started gaming and stuff.
Right.
And streaming. She almost like got picked up by A&E TV and stuff. Wow. So she knew all about it, but WhoFlung, I'm at that point, man, where it's just like, what's next, because I really need to concentrate and focus. I feel like these first 3 years have been great, right? There's been ups, there's been downs. I knew that there would be ups and downs, and I'm okay with that. But I need something, number one, that's sustainable over a long period of time. And I feel like YouTube is the most logical platform for that, right?
Oh, 100%.
So what
100%.
do I want to do and what do I enjoy? And then put that on YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't agree with you more. Because long-term goals, right, are YouTube for me as well. I post, I'll stream GTA for, 3 to 4 hours when I can. And then I'll chop down episodes out of that. Like, I'll edit it down into, I think I posted one recently, like Eddie Grinkletoes smells like fish. And I got stopped by the fishing game guys as one of my Civ characters. And I threw that, 10, 15 minute clip up on YouTube. And I'm like, hey, episode, I think it's like 58 or 59 or something like that. Doing that kind of stuff on YouTube. So ultimately, it's be able to monetize YouTube, have Twitch, and rock and roll. And, always got the YouTube thing is never going to go anywhere.
No.
But as far as streaming platforms go, that changes. You're seeing Kick make a massive effort into the the market share in the area. But YouTube's always going to be that stable behind. You can do whatever it is. It's been interesting watching Kick. From the legal standpoint to the them just cutting into Twitch left and right. I want your 2 cents on this. When you saw that, what is his name, Kai Cenat, or however you pronounce it, you saw he got a Twitch ban recently. Now he's since unbanned. But how were you looking at that in terms of, is this, because at the time at least he was the number 1 subbed person on Twitch,
right?
And I was looking, I'm like, if this dude goes over to Kick, that's gonna be.
Isn't he the one that burnt the shoes?
So Twitch gave him shoes, and Kick gave him a pair of shoes.
And he burned Twitch's shoes on his stream.
I think he burned Twitch's shoes on his stream. And
I love it, man.
That might have been part of what got him banned, because I didn't look too much into it, but it was definitely they were like, because he hit that 300 sub milestone in the month, and Twitch sent him a pair of shoes. Like, I
mean, what a slap in the face, dog. Right.
There are some conservative estimates out there that Twitch made when he did that month-long subathon in January or February, whatever it was. There was some conservative estimates that Twitch made upwards of like $10 million off of that subathon.
I mean, that's just.
And he maybe made 2.
And you sent him shoes.
And
didn't expect him to burn them on stream. You know what I mean? Like,
come on now. And Kick's like, hey, dude, we'll send you better shoes.
Right.
And
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Like, the more I'm into this, the more I think Kick is actually gonna be competitive to Twitch. And the reason why I say that is because I was listening to a podcast involving the top dog over at Kick, and they're talking about figuring out a creator program that pays streamer by the hour. And the reason why he said that?
Why?
He said the reason why I want to make something like that is because you have a lot of people out there who are brilliant and phenomenal people who go from anywhere from 50 to 1,000 viewers that are just really good content creators, and they have to wake up every single day hoping that they just get by. And he expressed that he didn't feel like that was a way to live, and that's the reason why he wanted to figure out some sort of program where it pays by the hour. And I respect that, dude.
100%.
And I think that's gonna win, man.
100%. Do you think we'll see ads on Kick eventually?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're gonna have to.
Because from my standpoint, and I think we hit on this a little bit last time, ads are the biggest reason, I think. Well, one of the bigger reasons. I won't say the biggest, but one of the bigger reasons for somebody to sub to a channel is getting to ignore the ads. Skip by them. I got the chance to speak to some people and give feedback at TikTok once, and they were like, how can we help streamers generate income and things like that? And I said, well, you guys you're hitting all the marks, right? You've got the ability to sub, you've got the ability to do this, that, and the other, but there's no incentive, right? There's no because I'm by nature a shy person when it comes to the financial side of things. I don't pimp myself. I don't say, hey, the one thing I do is, like, if people send a gifted sub or a galaxy, I give the dog a treat. That's the one thing that I do. I'm not out here saying, help me pay my bills, because that's not what it's about for me. It's about the enjoyment of doing it. But I said, if you want more revenue generated through it, put an ad on a stream every 10 minutes. I hate to say it because I hate ads, but that will incentivize people to sub to the channels. Leave the cost of it alone. I think TikTok subs the same as Twitch, $5, same as Kick. But that's the biggest incentive for somebody to sub to a channel, I think, or I say one of them. But I don't know how you think about that, but that was definitely the feedback that I gave them.
So I think people are just annoyed with ads overall. I think what's going to happen, and it would almost make sense to me if they just leave. Like, I do think they'll implement ads. I think they're innovative enough to where they're going to do it where it's non-invasive to the stream. But I think if they leave bits, leave anything else out, just keep the gifted subs on Kick, I think that might generate just the same purpose. You know what I'm saying? But yes, I do agree that they're gonna have to put ads. I don't think they're gonna be invasive like Twitch.
You
Like,
you think it's gonna be more like a small like overlay in the corner of your stream type deal, or did you hear me there? You broke up there for a second.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Do you think it's gonna be more of like an overlay kind of deal?
Yeah, I think it'll be non-invasive, and I really listen. I'm wholeheartedly on board with them just leaving it subs. Don't add anything else into the mix.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that, because it's like you're on Twitch or something, you're flirting with that cluttered line. Right. You definitely on TikTok, it's diluted as hell. You know, 100%. You've got so many different ways to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, guys, you know, keep it simple. Keep it real simple, real cheap, real affordable. Boom. I love the idea of just $5 sub. Boom. That's it. Right. And gift subs. And that keeps it nice, simple, and clean. So I think they are definitely ticking some serious boxes in the right direction there. Speaking of cluttered things, and I think I mentioned TikTok, have you seen their series feature that they just released?
Yeah, that's the one where people could pay.
So it's like
I have it. I just don't. I mean,
you haven't dabbled in it.
I think maybe I'll do some fishing videos or something.
Yeah, something. So what I sort of, you know, from a creative standpoint, looking at it, like I've gotten into this deal where I like to say play through the entire story mode of a game, and we'll take Modern Warfare for example. Play through the entire story mode and cut it down as though you're watching a movie. Rather, you know, and I've seen other people do their takes on it and their stuff, so it's just my version of it. And that's the only thing I can think of like throwing up there, because, you know, I don't want to put my stream behind a paywall or anything like that. That's the only sort of avenue I could think of.
Into it,
yeah.
You know? I think at this point, where I'm at least, I'd rather redirect it over to the live streams, right, and get those numbers going, right, get those videos fired up. That way I can the more that I feel like, the more harder I work at that, the less that other people have to feel obligated to contribute. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if I can get a company to sponsor me or a company to pay my bills, right? Like, then, you know, I'm not the type either to ever ask, right? I don't. Like, out of the 3 years I've been streaming, you've never seen me beg, right? Or I got so embarrassed, right, that I put up a sub goal one time. You know what I'm saying? That I took it down like a week later. And is it a smart idea to do it? Yes, but I just couldn't bring myself to deal with it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I have this amazing community who always looks out, you know. But the more work that I do, right, by getting other people like major companies to pay my bills, so that they don't have to obligated or nothing, you know. Yeah. I mean, not that they feel obligated, but they're just kind. You know what I'm saying? They're giving people, you know, and worst case scenario, they still give, and then we can get redirect that giving to somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I mean? That's an ultimate goal, I would say. Right. That's why I like the ultimate side of YouTube being the end goal, is because 100%. YouTube pays you. YouTube passively pays you, you know, and that takes everything out of it and allows it just to be fun for you and the audience. YouTube takes care of all of that, and that's why end goal for me is YouTube, so that, man, the pressure's off of me, the pressure's off of them, you know. And like you said, if there's still generosity going on, man, let me pass that on. Let me start putting that into philanthropic work or something like that, because I'm big into working dogs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But, you know, one of my things is I want to be able to do stuff like, who was it? I think it was a NASCAR driver that did it, but started a charity of buying police dogs vests, you know, stab-proof vests and stuff like that. And I was like, man, you know, when I can do that, that's a goal one day. Being able to give back to the community that, you know, taught me how to do what I do. Because from the Leo standpoint, I've done the dog side. I did it voluntarily in sort of a ride-along capacity for like 3 and a bit years. Went out for a paid spot and they couldn't pay me, and I mean, that's why I feel about small town, you know, in the South.
As a reserve officer, I'm assuming.
No, so they had, my local municipality had a thing called, it was just called Volunteers in Police Services, I think. So it was not reserve. It was a step down from that, like no arrest powers, that sort of thing. But you ride with the guys, you do all the busy work for them, so that they can do there. And then, you know, for me, I looked at it from a canine trainer's perspective. I'm getting to see the streets. I'm getting to, you know, take that knowledge and be like, all right, I got to adjust my training, my training program, you know, for my dog's going to encounter this scenario or might deal with this scenario, you know. And so that's the big benefit that I got from it. Wanted to do it as a career for a while there, and then, you know, it's just small town Alabama, man. It's tough here. You know, I imagine it was quite tough for you as well. But so we got what, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi around us. All of those states you can pay your own way through the academy. Alabama, you can't. It's the one out of those 5 states that you've got to be sponsored, and the majority of Alabama outside of, you know, Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, you know, Mobile is populations of maybe 1 or 2,000 at most. They can't afford to send somebody through the academy.
We did the same stuff in Georgia. Now, fortunately, I worked for Albany, Georgia, the police department there, and they had the finances, so they picked me up, they hired me, and then sent me to the academy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there were so many like small towns in Georgia, bro. Like you'd always see them on the highway, bird dogging the highway, dude, pulling people over for like 1 mile an hour, making that city that money, you know. So
yeah. I mean, they almost have to.
The means.
Yeah, it's almost like they have to. But right. You know, and they're small enough towns that they can do that. Like I did a ride along with Jacksonville City Police Department once, and that's a small town that's north of Oxford and Anniston in Alabama. You're talking, if the college wasn't in Jacksonville, I think the city would have maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people at most. Their night shift had 4 guys on it, and that's what I rode with. And man, they would, you know, they knew that about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, it was going to be dead until 5:30 in the morning when people start waking up going to work. Man, that's when they would take their breaks. They'd sit in the, you know, the headquarters, and they were just sitting there, and the lone dispatcher sticks her head out the office door and says, "Hey, 911 call going in, guys." And they get up out of their desks and doing their paperwork and get back in their cars and go out. And she just, you know, she's leaning out of her chair. "Guys, a call coming in." And I'm just like, really?
Hop on the radio, you know, just hollering in the office.
Not even, because all 3 of them are sitting in the office doing their paperwork from, you know, from whatever call they just dealt with, to taking that and going from doing ride-alongs with San Diego, which was just balls to the wall from the time they hit their car to the time they parked it back in the parking lot. It was no joke. Did you ever, or like, lean on that knowledge base, that and, you know, Marine Corps knowledge base when you got into gaming and like developing like your character, your I don't want to say necessarily your character, but like maybe your brand or something? Like, if you understand what I'm trying to ask without finding the right words for it.
So I guess I could kind of word it the way that I worded it before, is that, you know, I would not be the man I am today without certain people in my life, without the United States Marine Corps, without policing, and all the opportunities that I've kind of seized as time has progressed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think all that in conjunction just made me who I am. And I don't really know how to be anybody else per se. And it just aligned so well together. It's almost undescribable, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but it just kind of took its path, took its course. I'll never forget, like, I used to not scream at animals all the time, you know what I'm saying? I just did it one time, and the next thing I know, 5.4 million views on a video later is like, okay, well, maybe we should start doing this, you know? Yeah. Which it just aligned with me anyways, right? So it was fun, you know?
That was definitely how I found you originally. I think it was For You. I think you just showed up in my For You page on TikTok, and I hear you in that raspy voice, like, "Get off, you know, and stop running from me now." And, you know, however it is you're doing it, and give the people a little glimpse of it.
Shut your mouth right now, way I should do it. Hurry up.
There you go. It was that voice, which I cannot mimic at all. And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute!" You caught my attention, because I was actually dating a Marine at the time. She did 5 years in the Marine Corps, from 15 to 20. You know, I was like, wait a minute, I usually hear that from the kitchen when she's yelling at me, you know, for whatever it is. That's what caught my, and then I think we made the connection when somebody in my stream asked me to play Hunter Call of the Wild. I was like, hold up, I'm not good at that, but y'all want to watch somebody that's good at that game? Check this guy out. And I tagged you in it, I think, or somebody tagged you in it. And, you know, just kicked off from there. But yeah, that was definitely, that voice, I was, whoa, caught my attention. So it worked on me for sure.
Man, I'm curious, dude. Like sometimes I sit back and I think I'm like, what do people freaking think when they like open up this stream? And I'm like flipping out, losing my mind. Because sometimes I say some really dumb stuff. You know what I mean?
I think we all do. There have been times when I'm streaming and I'm on a scene in GTA and I say something and I'm like, oh shit, is that gonna be my cancel moment? There's like, certain words obviously that we avoid. Anything, but there's some topics that should go along with that and be avoided at times. You think about it, but you're always thinking about it in hindsight. You're like, shit, that's gonna be a moment. Yeah. Maybe I delete that stream from my VODs.
Yeah, well, and you get fussy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody pissing you off. You're like, I don't even want to deal with this stupid server and shit. You know what I'm saying?
I've had that one time. I broke character one time on somebody and just went ham, and I ended up teleporting away from him entirely. And I owned up to it. I went to the server staff and I was like, hey, I just broke character. I did the mother of all no-nos of teleporting away from the guy. And but there have been other times when you say some ridiculous shit on a stream, and I'm just like, I hear it in the back of my head. I'm like, I just said that, and hopefully people laugh. And then you start seeing the crying face emojis and all that, and you're like, all right, cool, I got away with it.
We're good.
But I mean, because we were riding around in a party bus. We do Civ Saturdays, which is the main like civilian RP, and we were riding around in a party bus, and it was like 4 or 5 of us in there, civs, blaring music out, the whole 9 yards, and guy stops us for noise complaints. It was dead of night in Sandy Shores, and we were loud. And he walks up to me, he's like, what did I tell y'all about turning that music down? Because he'd stopped us once already. And I hit him with there's a guy up in front of the car named Albert, and he's a younger guy. And I said, we're just celebrating Albert's quinceañera. And I was... I was just like, I started laughing, but I'm sort of like out of the corner of my eye looking at my chat. I'm like,
yeah, well, like people are so sensitive these days on certain things, man. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell anybody this. I tell people this all the time. I'm careful about what I say, especially because I adopted that whole change the world mentality and stuff like that, and I wholeheartedly believe in it. I also believe in joking around and bantering, but like the way that I joked around and bantered in the Marine Corps, like that would not fly here.
Oh no.
You know what I'm saying? Like
no. Wouldn't, just from the sort of like fly on the wall perspective I got with her for the years that we dated, and hearing her talk to her old Marine Corps buddy, I was like, oh yeah, definitely couldn't get away with that. No, definitely couldn't get, but it's definitely a separate, like from the Leo side of stuff. We've both experienced that life. You say stuff in those circles and operate a certain way in those circles because you gotta cope with what the day throws you.
That's right.
And that's how you deal with it. But it's that understanding of that happens here, you go home and it doesn't happen there.
That's right. You gotta know when that line is.
Where that you don't take work home.
I think that's part of being professional. You know what I'm saying? You got to know when to cut, when realize,
when you're on and when you're off.
Right?
A shining example is him sitting here on the couch. He's in off mode right now. He's relaxing. It's totally off. But we put his vest on. We go into an airport. We're boarding a flight. We're flying somewhere. It's remarkable the switch that turns in his head. Yeah. He knows automatically, all right, we're work mode. This is, we're off with dad. We're on a trip. It's game time. And I think it's important to know that from the content creating side of things as well.
It really is,
because we're out there and we're in the public.
You don't want your statement, who you are. You don't want that jeopardized. You know what I'm saying? Now, being controversial works really well for some people. You know what I'm saying? I don't really feel like it works for me. I do enjoy bantering a lot. Like a lot more than what a lot of people know, but it's just one of those things where I try to make sure I don't jeopardize what it stands for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What for somebody that's starting out, finding their way as to what they want to represent or be about, what would you tell them? Or even if you had an opportunity now, maybe this is a 2-part question, an opportunity now to go back and talk to the Chris 3 years ago. What would you, so 2-part question, the advice you would give to somebody starting out, and then what would you say to the Chris 3 years ago starting out based on what you've learned?
So the advice that I give to other people or would give or whatever it may be, right, is you got to be open and honest with yourself about who you are, right? The you know, at the end of the day, this is something that's on the internet, right? It's you don't really meet these people all the time. Now you do end up meeting people, right? Like and have personal relationships with a lot of people, and it's a really cool thing, right? But there are people that do live a fake internet life per se. But I'm gonna tell you, yo, put a streamer up there in front of that camera and let him throw some bullshit, or him or her throw some bullshit, bro, you will have like people pick up on it like that, right? And that's what I've always told people. Always be open, honest with yourself. You know, there's different styles out there, and you can grab whichever one you want. Some people like look at people like some of these big Call of Duty players, right? Z-Laner, whatever. They don't pay attention to no chat. You know what I'm saying? They don't.
They almost
they're
can't.
in the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay for them, right? It works for them. But you know, it's just my style is a little different, and there's nothing wrong with being different. You know what I mean? So I always recommend people like be confident in who you are, know who you are, and then don't ever mislead people, don't ever misguide people, right? Don't be a bullshitter because you're gonna get called out, right? 100%.
Yeah. What would you tell Chris 3 years ago if you were starting out?
Don't trust Facebook.
Sorry to my sister who works for Facebook.
Be more consistent. Yes, I'm okay. Don't trust Facebook gaming. Let me be.
Yeah, let's be. She's on the legal side of things, anyways. So
much love. Right. I do have friends that work at Facebook too, but it's not for Facebook gaming. Don't trust Facebook gaming. Let me clarify.
There you go. There you go. Well, I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. Is it?
I think so.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I walked away from that at 63,000 followers. That's how bad it was over there, man.
Oof.
Walked away from
That's a thing to walk away from. That's a following to walk away from. So I would tell people that are starting out, I would say turn off your active viewer count. That's the biggest piece of advice I could give somebody, because you hit the other one is in finding your identity and be honest about it. Yeah. The other thing I would tell them is turn off your active viewer count. Talk to you, even if you know nobody's watching you, talk to your stream like a million people are watching you.
100%, because people go back and watch that VOD, and I'm gonna tell you, right? Sometimes it's even hard to go back on Twitch and see all the comments that are happening at the same time. So people don't really pay attention as much when they're watching a VOD. But if you're acting like you got 900 million people up in there,
and you're hustling and bustling, you're moving, you're entertaining, because I know you'll remember when we would probably have 2 or 3 viewers, and it was our own phone, our own tablet, our own spare laptop in the corner. But I would talk to myself, those 3 images of myself, like 100 people were watching me. I'd be like, all right, guys, we're going to turn left on East Joshua. We're going to go out here and run some speed on Sonora Freeway, because, that one random person that clicks on your stream, man, they might stay for 30 seconds because you're engaging, and they might chat. And then if they chat and you respond and you guys start conversating, man, that might turn into a follow. And then that's, it's helping you develop and build your community. So turn off your active viewer accounts.
You know what I'm saying? It's good practice.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Way to practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, just do it.
It's 100% how I've evolved, my entertainment over the, years that I've done it and I go back every now and then, and I wish I'd saved them because I don't have them anymore, but I wish I did. The old original streams and original YouTube videos that are absolutely cringeworthy, but to see that and compare it to now is man, it's totally different. The second piece of advice I would give is I was watching, and you can tell me if you saw this. I want to say it was Ninja or somebody like that. It was a big name streamer. I don't want to, put all the blame on him if it wasn't him that said it, but it was somebody of that caliber that said any streamer that has less than 50 active viewers should just quit. And I call bullshit on that. I don't cuss too much on here on the podcast side of things, but I will call absolutely BS on that, because if it's your dream, it doesn't matter if you got 1 person, 50 people, 100 people, don't quit. What's that famous line that you'll know, never quit and never give up. She used to walk around the house saying that all the time. But don't ever quit. It doesn't matter whether you've got 50 people or 5 people or 100,000 people watching you. If it's your dream, don't quit.
That's right, just do it.
Just get up in the morning and do it. So that would be my. Now, as far as what I would tell me 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear this.
Shit. What would I tell me 3 years ago? I quit once, and I did.
How long?
Oof. probably somewhere in the range of 8 to 12 months.
Okay.
I quit once, and I would go back and tell myself, exactly what I just said. That's sort of the, the two-pronged lesson that I learned is don't quit, because for something like me, we have ups and downs in our lives, mood swings, and, everybody has depression. And if you're in that sort of life and you're feeling that sort of moment, man, reach out and talk to somebody. There's no shame in that, especially as a man. There's no shame in talking to somebody or saying, hey, I need help. And that's what my streaming became for me. That was my avenue. That was my, my roll call every day, checking in with my people, saying, hey, I'm here. Let's have another fun time. It's my escape from reality when you need it. So that was it for me. That's what I would probably, deal with.
I think too, a lot of viewers don't really give themselves enough credit either on the aspect of, I will say this, streaming is tough. And it is not easy. It is hard. I'm telling you, as a 38-year-old man who's been a former Marine, a police officer, that it is hard. It really is, man, especially when you start paying attention, because at some point you do have to start paying attention to the numbers, right? And making sure that you're matching what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And you start to see that fall off, and sometimes it's by no control of yourself. It could just be simple that there's an algorithm shift and it's gone from you. You know what I'm saying? And that is heartbreaking, dude. And it is a lot of weight to carry, and it can feel like a really long trip alone,
It'll come back around.
The viewers, man, they're just there for you. You know what I'm saying? WhoFlung, like, even there's times that I had to make myself get out of bed, right? I had to make myself get out of bed, because if I'd have stayed there, I would have just kept staying there, and then things would have gone in just a dark direction. I'm not saying like, what I'm saying is that I would have just I would have sat in pity, what I'm saying? And self-pity, right? But the viewers, man, they tend to, you feel obligated to be there for them, right? Because they contribute and they need an escape too, So it's a really good motivation tool on both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had that. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I've been recognized twice out in the real world. Once at my 9 to 5. So if the gentleman's listening, shout out to you. Please still don't tell people where I work. That was the first thing I said to him. I was like, dude, this is awesome, but please don't tell people where I work. The second one was at a Braves game in Atlanta. And, that was the way that person said, they were talking to me and we were talking about exactly this. And they said, dude, you're my escape from reality sometimes. And I was like, man, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. I don't give a, I was about to say I don't give a damn about the numbers, but you do have to a point. Yeah. But that's when it sort of put it back in perspective, because I was at a low point, in my streaming thing. I was like, man, my growth has been really slow recently. And then somebody like that said something to me. I was like, shit, that makes it all worth it. I'm happy with the slow grind now, because, I'm somebody's difference. They were my difference. And now I figured out that it works both ways. And that was really cool. Have you ever been recognized in the street?
Yeah, I think the first time was at a Subway. The guy making my sandwich.
He recognized you?
Yeah.
That was pretty. How did that happen? Yeah. How'd that conversation go?
He's like, I think I know you. I'm like, what do you mean? Because this is like right after I moved up over to the hill country, right away from Houston. Maybe like 2 or 3 months afterwards. And I don't know, maybe I caught the San Antonio algorithm or something, right? But right. He's like, I think I see you on TikTok all the time. Matter of fact, I recognize that tattoo on your hand. And I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And we sit there and just hung out and yacked with him, for a while. He's a cool dude, 100%. And then I think the next one was at a gas station at a small town that was close to where I live too. So
how was it the first time that happened? Were you just like, what, the first time it happened was how was that? Were you just like, oh shit, this has really just happened to me?
Well, it was something I really haven't experienced too much, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, I mean, to a certain extent, before I started streaming, I was general manager at one of the biggest nightclubs in Houston, right? So they expected me to be the face of the club, so I had to go do all that stuff. I had to go be that face and things like that. So that was never really a big deal to me. But just the reality sits in of like, this is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a stranger, right? That I don't know knows me, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and wants to talk to me and wants
almost
to engage
almost
with me.
intimately knows you from what you've put out online. Like they can recount shit back to you. You're like, whoa, how do you know this? And you're like, wait a minute, I put that on social media or in a stream. Do you have your logo tattooed on your hand? There you go. That's why, because I meant to ask about that last time, and then you mentioned it just now, and I was like, all right, you know, he's got his logo tattooed on, because I just have church windows tattooed on mine. On that, maybe I'll get, you know, WhoFlung Gaming tattooed on this side. But
I'm just gonna tell you, man, I love tattoos because they tell a story of my life to me. You know, and I have some of the most significant things that have ever happened to me on my arms. You know what I'm saying? So,
what was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo?
Yeah,
it was my USMC one.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, that one down there.
That was your first ever tattoo? Mine was toe tag that's on my right foot.
Okay.
So, which was, you know, it was a drunken night in college. But when I went and had my appendix out about 12, 13 years ago, you know, they're wheeling me into the OR and putting me on the slab there, and the surgeon or the anesthetist looks down, he's just like, well, you saved me the trouble. I'm like, what?
You're like, hold on, let's not take this too far, Doc.
Pause.
You know what I'm saying?
I saved you what trouble? Let's have a conversation here real quick. But because I've never been a fan of surgeries or being knocked out like that at all. And him saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, and then you know, then you're out, and you're like, shit. But that was
I should have wore a sock, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, something like that. And then you know, I tell people about tattoos. Man, it doesn't. To me, this is just my interpretation. I'd love to hear your side of it. It doesn't matter what. To me, it doesn't matter what you think of it.
No,
it is my story, almost my. You know, it's. You can either consider them tattoos or artwork, and it, you know, if what you consider artwork may be totally different to me, and what I, you know, might be different to you. So they all, you know, my tattoos tell a story, and you would look at me and you'd think I'm like a hell of a religious person, because I've got, you know, Michael tattooed on me, and you know, Peter holding the key and all that, and it's not quite that, but it, you know, it tells a story. We won't get into the religious side of things or anything, but it tells a story using those symbols in another way. What is your take on it? Because I just say what I think may be totally different to what the other person thinks.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, naturally, it's nice to have, like, I like the color blue.
Yes.
Right? I think it goes well on my skin, right? Like, and of course, you want a somewhat attractive tattoo per se.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to just get a prison tattoo on your, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But at the end of the day, really, what it's about, it's not about the presentation of it, it's about what it means to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, these are things that people cannot take away from me, right? So I'm not going to let somebody, you know.
Do you go days without noticing them?
Well,
Because
I mean,
it's like
I think you just get accustomed to them being there.
Yeah,
you know?
because I mean, every day I'm, you know, showering or washing my hands or something like that, and it's not until I stop and, like, I'm sitting here looking at it that I'm like, I got a tattoo on my hand. Right. You know, in my day-to-day life, I don't think about it. You know, it's in the back of my mind until I hear some old lady walking past. I'm wearing a hoodie at the time, and she fires off to her husband, I don't know why young people get tattoos. She didn't know I had tattoos. And then I take off my sweatshirt and I'm covered in them, and she's just like, you know, you get that sideways look out of the eyes, and her husband's like, they do what they want, honey. I'm like, damn right. But it was interesting. This dude is out cold. He just made us
nap time.
Yeah, absolutely nap time. But dude, Chris, it has been fan-freaking-tastic having you on, man.
Yo, 100%, man. I'm gonna tell you, dude. Like, I'm really glad I met you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's been a blast. We'll have to talk more about getting you one of these guys at some point.
Yeah,
get them out. But dude, it has been a blast. Thank you very much for coming on and doing attempt number 2, which I know has already gone better than attempt number 1 because there's no popping in the audio. Man, we got to do it again sometime. I'm gonna
round 3. I'm down, bro.
Maybe third time's a charm. You know, I'll just go ahead and accidentally delete this one, and and we'll do it again in about 3 months. And
we'll just wait 3 weeks and I'll forget.
Yeah, you know, and we'll do it all over again.
This time I won't accidentally shave my beard off.
Yeah, all right. Before we go, you got to tell me that. Come on.
All right. So,
because that was the excuse you gave me.
I trim my beard, right?
Okay.
Because I cannot stand, like, I don't like when hair sits on my ears. You know,
Right.
I don't like when hair's like on my
Oh,
lips.
I hate that shit.
Right? Like, I can't stand it, right? So
Yeah.
I trim my beard. Well, I use a trimmer that's got the adjustable thing on top of it.
Okay. Rather than
And
taking the heads off and putting a new one on, it's just an
yeah, I
adjustment.
don't mess with it, right? Like,
I
I
get
just
you.
rinse it off, whatever, and then when it goes rusty or bad, I just get another one, you know?
Yeah.
But I also am very nitpicky about like cleanliness and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I do not trim my beard inside my house. I go outside, right?
Okay.
I go outside the truck and I use the tint in the window. Well, I'm so accustomed to it, I'll just walk outside and start doing it. You know what I'm saying? And this is what happened, right? So apparently, somehow I got set to 0. Right.
Okay.
And I walked outside the garage. I'm just starting shaving. I'm looking down. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I could have sworn to God I didn't trim my beard like 9 months ago. You know, what is happening right now? And then I looked and it was too late, man.
You're like, oh, shit.
It was too late. You know, and it was just, I mean, I was already almost all the way done. I'm like, well, we got to ride this one out. But, what, 2 weeks later, we're good. I even trimmed it today.
Yeah.
Right? So.
I mean, I have horror, images of thinking about doing something like that. So that's why I don't touch mine at all, other than like,
Right.
trimming up around the neck. I let my hair lady do it. I'm like, you do it, because then if that fucks up, at least I got a free haircut out of it.
Yeah, and then I get to blame you and not myself. You know what I'm saying, right? Like,
I can't remember the last time I was without a beard. I think
so
4 or 5 years ago.
2000, let's see, I got out of the Marine Corps 2010, and then I policed in Georgia for 4 years, and I moved back to Texas, and I did not have a beard while I policed because it was still back then where they were opposed to that stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that was what, 2015 was the last time I didn't have facial hair.
Yeah,
Until
I
accidentally
can't
shaved it
think
off
about
the
it
other day,
anymore.
bro. I look like a 2-year-old too. It's embarrassing.
Oh,
man.
I saw one of your streams. I was like, oh, now I see why he said, let's wait a minute, let the hair grow back out.
I was getting messages like the chicks were all like, "Oh, you look like a baby." I'm like, "Don't say that, all right?"
Baby
Jesus
Netzel.
Christ.
I mean, it's your character.
100%, bro.
Hey, listen, you need to like convince whoever's up over your server. I've got the files for Baby Netzel, and if you ever wanted a baby to come hang out with you,
Dude, I'll put the word out.
Saturdays, right? Like I can give them the files or whatever if they put it in.
I will put the word out, man. I'll reach out to him and say, hey, me and this other guy, want to hoot around on your server and see if it takes us more than 5 minutes to get banned.
I well, also too understand that I would never do anything to jeopardize the.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, no, I'd do enough of that by my damn self. I don't need. That's what we were talking about, like the cringe moments. That's definitely one. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna get banned for this. Definitely, dude. It's been freaking awesome, man. We'll have to do it again.
I'm looking for the next one, dog. 100%.
It'll be awesome.